So we are here today with Todd Basler. In case many of you don't know, Todd is actually who I got started in the insurance industry with. He has been a mentor of mine ever since the day. It's kind of a crazy story, like I walked in with a guy that I'm pretty sure he was drunk at the time. I might have been drunk as well.
Yeah, he
We
was.
walked into for sure. Yeah, no, I remember it, and I remember like coming to the office and sitting down,
Yeah.
and you come like bolting down the center aisle out there, and you just like so much energy and so much passion that like you literally you left there and you were just like psyched. You're like, I just want to sell something right now.
Right.
And who would know that actually to this day, like that was what sparked what had turned into some things. I mean, I guess if you go back to like trials and tribulations with that,
Yeah.
I mean, how many times I flunked that test?
Oh, I tell you what, I remember when you did come in and then we got you started.
Yeah,
And the reality is I think we lost count maybe like at 13
it was pretty
times.
bad.
It was pretty
It
bad.
was pretty
And,
bad.
with, like you said, trials and tribulations, a lot of people would have given up. They would have given up on the first try, right?
Yeah.
Second try. But I mean, obviously it speaks of your character. And I look at character when I'm working with people.
Yeah.
And the reality is you're a tough skinned guy and just kept barreling through and ended up passing the test. Right?
I know you were like, man, maybe this time you should study for the test and,
Yeah.
like you'd actually maybe pass it. But that was just, it was a, crazy time. Kind of, I was younger,
Yeah.
didn't really know what direction I was wanting to go. This was after some of the things that had happened, which kind of derailed my life and kind
Right.
of, led me to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting,
Yeah.
like the story of the random friend of mine
Yeah.
that you had met. I think you said,
I prospected him somewhere. I forgot where we met. He was working somewhere, maybe at a retail or a car wash, and just had a quick conversation. And he said, I got a friend of mine that might be interested, and both of you came in. But I can't remember exactly where I met your buddy.
yeah, there's so many different people that, I always had seen you prospecting because there's so many people that are really unhappy with their life. And I think that COVID really unclosed or like it really opened that up for a lot of people because they had seen that, that time
Right.
was, time is money.
Yeah.
And they had obviously a lot more time with their family and they'd seen that, hey, this is pretty nice to have some flexibility and have some money and
Absolutely. Yeah.
residual. And that kind of is like the breeding grounds for us with insurance. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for myself, when COVID hit, everybody was freaked out a little bit, including myself. I'll never forget, I was down in Florida over spring break with my family. We're going to spend a week down there kind of hanging out. And then COVID hit and everybody's calling me saying, got to get back here. There's no toilet paper on the shelves. All the hamburgers gone. The bread is gone. And I was like, why the hell would I want to come back there when I'm down here in Florida? Because it was still open, right?
Yeah.
But when I got back, I'm not going to lie, I kind of flipped out myself going, because I was always the type to sit across the kitchen table, go to people's houses, visit with them was one of my differentiators versus just always just making calls or having them come to my office. And I'm thinking like, what the hell am I going to do now at this point for visiting with people? And then obviously learning about Zoom, it changed my life and my productivity went through the roof. But I think you're right. There's more and more people today that kind of got soft during that era where they kind of like that idea.
Yeah,
they
they
were
don't
all
wanna go
parked
back.
at home. They didn't want to go back, And unfortunately, too, I think some people just got really, really lazy. Now they don't want to work at all. So there's that generation out there, in my opinion, as well.
Well, I actually found obviously I had my freak out moment too. Mine, I was actually, when all this happened, I was also in Florida. I was at the Daytona Bike Week show.
Okay.
Right. And we were down there and I remember they started like closing stuff down. They're like, yeah, like the COVID thing. And I'm literally getting my hair cut by some guy that some random guy down there. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm getting my hair cut down there and I'm sitting in that chair and he's like, yeah, I don't even know what's going on. But supposedly there's like no toilet paper and there's no bread and everything else. And so we ended up, we came back and then, like I said, then all of a sudden it was like overnight, 70% of my business was lost.
Wow.
We're in the high risk auto business, or we were at that time. We've now expanded into different types of level of high risk or specialty risk. But as you can imagine, when you have somebody that isn't going to do the right thing unless they have their hand held to the
Right,
fire. And all of a
right,
sudden, you give them a lot of excuses. They're not going to do the right thing. Those people, there was no DMVs open, there was no courts open. And then
right.
they had like that viral TikTok thing going on because TikTok became huge at that
Oh,
time too, right?
absolutely, yeah.
So then they had the thing of like where you put the note on your window if like a cop would pull you over, like, I got COVID, get the heck out of here,
Right,
and I just, I mean, we couldn't win for losing. So,
right,
everybody I think thought that this was going to be a really temporary sort of thing, but as we do as entrepreneurs, we have to adapt, we have to
absolutely.
overcome, and we have to figure out ways to kind of blaze trails ahead of us. So that was actually a really iconic point. Now, mine was I was like, well, if I'm going to be quarantined, I'm going to be on my boat.
Right, right,
Right. So I'm going to be out there in the water. I was out there with some friends, coving out, and we're looking around and I'm seeing all these people that they are not affected by any of this type of
right,
stuff.
right.
And I'm looking at this is opportunity. This is some things that I can really take advantage of that, the people that again, they're going to figure it out. Now, COVID didn't really exist at the Ozarks. Okay. Like,
Right.
I mean, there's somewhere on CNN, there was a helicopter
Seen that,
flying
yeah.
over with CNN news, a guy hanging out of the side of the
I
helicopter, and
remember that on TV.
everybody's in the pool, everybody's drinking at like 10 o'clock in the morning and stuff. And these people are flying in at 2 o'clock and they're like, look at this. This is COVID soup. How irresponsible. And almost like these guys have been in the pool since morning. They haven't left. I
Right.
think the last thing they're worried about is catching COVID, right? At this point. And if there was like in all reality, there's so much alcohol that's probably been
Consumed.
intaked at this point that I don't think COVID could survive, right? So,
Exactly.
it was a pretty sanitary environment, I guess, from the waist up.
That's good.
But anyway, as far as that goes, like it was a major change for
Sure it
me.
was,
So,
yeah.
one of the things that I always loved with working with you was it was such a team and a rewarding type of an
Right,
environment.
right,
And you really, really were appreciated for what you brought to the table. And you didn't feel like you were just a number. And I
right.
can recall, in a lot of circumstances, because I went off doing other things.
Sure.
I went down more like the property and casualty side. You're in more of the life and investment.
Right.
So, but I just remember, and still to this day, I see, these trips that you guys go on, and I'm just like, you're going down like you got like 15 Rolexes being given to you, and like you're taking your family around, and I mean,
Yeah.
you're living, and
Right.
I think that's something that we all really, really forget is that we work so hard, and we kind of lose touch of the reality that like we do need to stop to enjoy it every once in a while.
I 100% agree. And, I always kind of, when I'm talking about people or bringing them into our business today, the sad part is most people would like to have more time,
Yeah.
with their family, doing the things they really enjoy, their hobbies, just have more time. The problem with that is when you're working for somebody else and don't take the leap of faith on entrepreneurship, whether it's, joining a business like yours or mine. The reality is they want more time, but they usually have to give up money, right?
Yeah.
Likewise, if you're working for somebody else, if you want more money, you have to give up time. You got to work overtime and pay the
Yeah.
price. Therefore, you're away from your family. But and we live a dream life. It's been a great ride. I've been
Yeah.
with our company for 29 years today, going to my 30th year next year. Right when I was a
Yeah.
college kid when I started, and the reality is it's to get financially free and then to have the time freedom is just absolutely rewarding.
And you're helping other people at the same point in time. I mean, you're putting out fires for their family and helping them to become financially free and independent and give them that opportunity.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, I know you said something to me last night. You said faith, family, and finance.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we feel it's a cornerstone of our business. Another way of looking at it is put your God first, your family second, your business third, or faith, family, and finance, and that should be everybody's goal to do that. To
Yeah.
get those things in line. I know I wouldn't be here today without my my belief in the Lord to be able to
Yeah,
help me guide me on an everyday basis,
sure.
right? Basically what I do is more of a ministry to me than it is like a sales job, because that's never what I never viewed at. And part of that is because like yourself, I've looked up to you as well. I know you mentioned that on the onset. I've seen the success you had. And, another thing with that too is a lot of times people, they either they can envy or get jealous of people's success, or what sometimes we refer to them as the haters, right?
Yeah,
But the reality is when you have good mentors and coaches in your life, they want to see people successful, and that's how
absolutely.
I've been able to do it in my business and cultivate some phenomenal people that we have impacted them in positive ways.
It's a vibe. I mean, like, I know just like being around you, like you just like want to conquer life,
Right, right,
and I really, really, truly believe that. Something that was that I overheard, um, which was we both went to that Life Surge
yeah,
conference,
yeah,
and I heard some really great speakers in that. But one of the things that was said was with Willie Robertson, and
okay,
Willie had said, if there's always unhappy people are never going to be happy for you. You know what I mean? So you're you have those people that they haven't quite figured that out,
right,
and maybe aren't willing to figure that out. And so they are not going to be happy for you because, that again, they don't know the true meaning of happiness.
right,
I mean, it took me a really, really long time to really define success. Success to me, like when somebody would ask you, I would just be like, oh man, it's like how full my garage is and
right,
like,
right,
how big my boat or whatever. But it's really nothing about that at all. We can
exactly,
all go get those kind of things. And I would say at this point, that stuff is pretty obtainable. The thing though is that you're leaving a legacy. You
right,
are
exactly,
helping others. You're bringing people up in the world, and
right,
that's really the true meaning of success: is to leave that legacy, to leave that impact on others, to help them to be able to become better and bring everybody up on the same team. We both, I know we're big fans of Deion Sanders,
yeah,
right? Both of
exactly,
us, Coach Prime.
yeah.
Who doesn't love
Oh my
that
gosh,
environment? This guy walks in to multiple schools
right.
now that are not doing anything, that are like the Mighty Ducks before they became the
E
Mighty Ducks, right?
exactly, exactly.
Am I over saying that? That's
Yeah,
it's so
but no, that's good.
but like Gordon Bombay, like he's coming in there and teaching
Yeah,
all these guys. And I'll tell you, man, to watch this guy and what he truly stands for, he's got a bigger purpose.
right,
He's teaching people to become good people, and he's leaving an impact that goes far beyond football. He's
exactly.
teaching that teamwork, he's teaching that mindset, that
Yeah,
mentality. And the thing is that that's it, yet it's so simple, but yet it's so difficult for a lot of people to really
right,
grasp. And that's this guy, his energy that comes in, like, again, being around you, like, I love being around you because I feel like a winner when I'm
right,
around you.
right.
So, that was I've watched you, overcome a lot of different things yourself. One of the things that I do want to talk about, and I
Sure.
know it's, kind of near and dear to you,
Yeah.
one of the things that your business allowed you to do, and something that I know that you don't really talk about a whole lot because
Right.
I know it's kind of private, and I hope you don't mind me
No,
bringing
sure.
it up,
Yeah.
but the Lexi story,
Yeah.
right? Your
Yeah.
oldest daughter.
Right. So, I always, like going back to the time and money of having both of those,
Yeah.
where you can make unlimited income and maybe in a career like ours, which we can. But when I was, literally over 20 years ago, actually 21 years ago, my wife and I, we got married. Also, we thought we eventually would just eventually quickly have kids and start
Yeah.
our family. Well, that wasn't God's path. All right. So it took us 3 years to have our first child. And we ended up having going the in vitro route. Right. We miscarried several times, but we went the in vitro route. I tell, our daughter, Lexi, it basically cost us about 40 grand. And this was 20 years ago to have our
Yeah.
first child. Okay.
Exactly.
And then, the thing is we always maintain belief, power of prayer, all those type of things. And luckily, we didn't have to go into debt over that, because obviously we were making money and I always saved money. And then, but after she was born, it was kind of interesting. 6 months later, we went back to the doctor to kind of tee up the process again and wrote our deposit check. And ironically, three days later, we found out we were pregnant on our own
Yeah.
with our second child. And then we had our third, our son, Blake, and our middle child, Maddie. So, but yeah, a lot of that is just a lot of belief and, in God that was going to bless us eventually.
Yeah.
And we didn't know exactly if that was going to be the path. And there's obviously alternatives, all types of children out there, I think, that need to be adopted. And
Yeah.
it's God's will and God's plan, but it just happened for us. And, yeah, talking about family, about impact with people, success to me, you're right. There's a lot of there's a lot of shiny objects out there we all can have, and I think for a while sometimes those things make us feel good, and whether it's a
Yeah.
nice home, and we built our dream home 7 years ago, and it's a home, right? And that's where our kids have grown up over the last 7 years, and it's been a blessing and such. And I think that is where hard work pays off. That I've done some things, I got outside my comfort zone and did some phenomenal things, but in my eyes, as well as my wife Trisha, raising great kids,
Yeah.
being able to mentor them and get their thinking correct, right? I tell people sometimes I brainwash my kids. Some people say that's a negative word. Well, no, it's the correct word, because
Positive affirmations.
affirmations, right? The one I've always taught them was, hard work pays off. Matter of fact, my daughter Lexi, the one we just spoke about, her license plate is HWPO, hard work pays off, right? And she came up with that on her own because I've been ingraining our kids into that for a very, very long time.
She's playing volleyball now, right?
Yeah, she's at Springfield, Missouri at Drury University down there at D2. So she's a junior in college, plays volleyball. And that's, going back to time, like, it's funny, like my wife and I just went down to Oklahoma City last weekend,
Yeah.
and we were one of 3 parents that were there for the entire weekend, right? Well, where was everybody else,
Working.
And I don't say that derogatory. People got to work and got to do their jobs,
Yeah.
but if I need to be somewhere or I want to be somewhere, more importantly, I just show up. And I mean, to have the time freedom, the financial freedom to do what you want, when you want, as long as you want, with whoever you want to hang out with, is a pretty awesome feeling. And most people will never, ever achieve that, but they can. That's the purpose. They can achieve that if they decide to go after something. I think there's so many clients I sit down with, Steve, that, I see they make, decent income, whatever that may be for people, but, maybe they're making $60,000 or $100,000 a year. And I see so much potential in people compared to what they're making.
Yeah.
And quite often I just challenge my clients, like, have you ever thought about like getting your name out there, doing something different? And it's funny, the ones that actually sometimes step up to the plate, they'll go out there and they'll get motivated to go send their resume out, look for, and I've had clients increase their income $50,000 a year just because somebody needed to breathe some belief in their life that they could do something better than what they're currently doing. So anyway, I think there's a lot of people out there that struggle with that they ping pong in their head. They have these 2 different voices of, should I keep doing what I'm doing, or is there something better out there on their side? And I think for a lot of people there are. They don't see it yet, and they don't have the ability to want to go pursue something.
You need to put that on a reel. That was fire and then some. That was absolute fire. So yeah, I want a copy of that. That was some preaching right there, brother. So tell me a little bit about, your opportunity and
Yeah.
like what you do.
Sure.
Again, you're on the life and investment side of things. And I've seen a lot of people really have a big impact by meeting you and then opening up their true potential. I mean, I
Right.
think a lot of people, they get tricked into thinking, with the safety net, right?
Right.
Like I'm going to make a secure paycheck and I'm going to live a secure life and everything else. And then all of a sudden the rug is pulled out. So
Yeah.
I want to tell you real quick a story, and then I have you get
Sure.
into,
Yeah.
what you do with this. But there is a insurance company. Very good friend of mine was the VP in the insurance company. And the insurance company recently, like as of like a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
had called a meeting later in the morning and said, we're experiencing a lot of losses. We're not where we want to be financially, and we're going to have to let go 10% of the company.
Right.
And you'll get an email within 5 minutes as if you're in the safe zone or if you're not.
Wow.
And these people as you can imagine, like the anxiety
Oh
that's
my
going on
gosh.
with people
Right.
at that time. These are people that have maybe poured their life and soul, possibly decades. In this guy's case, he was over 20 years invested into this company,
Right.
as like worked himself all the way up from the bottom up and got up to that next to the top level.
Right.
And within 5 minutes, he gets an email that he's gone.
That
And you're looking at that as, well, this is security and I'm making great money and everything
right.
else, but you're one email away from being cut because you don't live life on your own terms.
That's right.
So interestingly enough, this gentleman reached out to me and said, I'm tired of living that way. I want to try to be able to create an opportunity
Right.
to live life on my own terms. And that's what I truly believe that is a big part of what I define as success, is living life on your own
I love
terms.
that. Absolutely.
That you're not restricted. You can be able to make an impact on people and leave a legacy with people and make people better. But ultimately, you live life on your terms, not on somebody else's.
That's
And
perfect, man.
it's huge. But anyway, tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about your opportunity before I interrupted you
Oh,
over
no,
here.
it's fine. No, I loved it. And yeah, so I'm a vice president with a company called Primerica Financial. We're actually the largest financial services organization in all of North America. The company's publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. I've been here 29 years. I was a broke college kid when I got started, had no clue what I was going to do. I did get a college education, but ironically, college did not prepare me for anything in the success I've
Right.
had in Primerica. Again, it goes back to the grit and hard work and a vision for your future and those type of things. But Primerica does a lot of things. We focus a lot on Middle America. They've been kind of nudged to the side, unfortunately, in this country, which represents about 85% of the U.S. population. Whether it's a 17-year-old that wants to learn how to put $50 or $100 in a Roth IRA, to clients of mine that are in their 60s and 70s that have millions of dollars. There's nothing too small or too big when we help people. We also are an advocate for a concept called buy term and invest the difference. We feel that term insurance is the proper way of properly protecting a family. So if you die too young, you can have insurance for your spouse and your children, so to make sure they're taken care of. But also we believe that you need to invest for your future, right? And that way, if you live too long, that you have money down the line. And there's a lot of other things that we do as a company. As a VP, my main responsibility is basically recruiting and attracting other great people, part of our team. I have other trainers in our business, but one thing that's really unique, unlike your buddy that, unfortunately just lost his job and he's wanting a re-career and
Yeah.
joining your team, it sounds like, is one thing that's unique with our company is we allow people to actually work with us part-time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we call it like a sideline career, or for people that are retired. Actually, the last 3 teammates that I've brought aboard are in their 60s.
Yeah.
We call that an encore career. And so that way, our company, we take care of all their professional licensing for their producer insurance license, their investment license. They can get a mortgage license. We're also in the mortgage business too. So we're kind of a one-stop financial services company. And so we can attract people part-time so they don't have to give up the security of what they're currently doing, get their feet wet and see if it's something that they would like to do maybe long-term. But I've got part-time people that earn $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. One of the gals on my team that's actually in her mid-60s, she's earned over $80,000 since November of 21.
Is that the lady that knows Gary?
Lady that knows
That's
Gary.
Gary.
Yeah.
Gary's coming back.
Gary just got back. And matter of fact, I just visited with him and his wife Jenny on a Zoom call last night.
Nice.
But there's another example. So we're hiring a lot higher caliber individual, not people that just make 50 or 60,000 a year that are just motivated by making some more money. There's career-oriented people that are make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year at a corporate job that are absolutely miserable, like where they would like to be able to move on and do something different. So we recruit all different types of folks, and it's been a blessing. Like I said, we built an agency and a team. And what I learned, something else I wanted to share is what I've learned too is when you help people, this is another John Maxwell, okay?
Yeah.
I love his stuff. When you help other people get what they want, you get what you want. So the focus and spotlight needs to be developing people in your team, putting the spotlight on your teammates. And because if we can empower them to get good at our business, or I know in mine as well as yours, it just pushes us up as well.
Yeah.
And what a blessing where you're, pulling people up versus pushing people down like corporate America does.
I mean, you don't really realize, like when I go back and I really look at it, like there's almost a fear factor that takes over and like a worry that I'm not going to I'm not going to match up for my team, that I'm not going to be enough for my team. And I mean, I think that if I have like the biggest fear, it's my fear of failure.
Yeah.
And I let that to like really motivate me to be able to make sure that I never get anywhere close to that option. Never give up. And I would say, there's sometimes that I was probably too stupid to show up, like on my 14th test time,
Yeah.
on the life part of it, right? That doesn't even count the other ones, right?
Right.
80 Banker made great money on me.
Yeah.
So, but there's so many different people that we serve, and we don't realize that like the eyes are always on us, that we're the power of example. And like you were just saying, when you feed into other people, that ultimately it's going to overflow and it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
And, I would tell you, with what we're doing right now as a business, it's so huge because there's so many problems within, and I'm not going to just relate this to the insurance industry. There's so many different places out here that they're not delivering upon what they put out there.
Right.
There's unrealistic expectations for mainly in marketing. Okay. And, we all want to put ourselves out there and we want to have millions of followers and we want to be able to, have tons of customers come in and everything else. But all that takes time.
Yeah.
Like I've spent over a decade putting in each day content into the machine to hope that machine is going to start spitting out other things.
Yeah.
And we all spend all this money to be able to do that. So one of the unique opportunities that we started doing was that we created the business in a box. So what I've done is I've created where we bring people in, we help them, we show them, we give them the resources, and we go to our resources, our contacts that are tried, true, and tested. And we make sure that I've used them. Like I can vouch for you. Yeah. I have life insurance and, for my entire family and everything through you. My investments are through you. I know that that's tried and tested. I trust you. I know that you're doing the right thing for me. And I know that you won't let the bounty get too big to, for my wife, like if I have too much life insurance for myself. But no, I mean, I remember like specifically me and my wife, we were going through some difficult times and we actually separated at a point in time. It was a pretty low time. And I remember calling you up and saying, hey, you know what? She's on her own. Like maybe she, I'm going to drop the insurance on her. And you said, listen, I know where you're feeling. I know where you're at right now. And I didn't feel like it was a sales pitch or anything like that. You said, hey, like I really truly feel like you guys are going to pull back together. We all go through problems.
Right.
You don't want to lose what we've already accomplished on here. Keep that in place. And I'm glad that we did because, during that time, she was really struggling with some different things that could have potentially disqualified her from being able to get any kind of insurance in the future. Now, obviously, we all kind of came back together and made a good recovery, but on that, it was a happy story.
Right.
But at the same point in time, like you've always made sure that you were looking at like, well, what is the best interest of Steve? What's the best interest of his family?
Yes.
And not saying, hey, I'm just going to try and sell you something.
Absolutely.
Or I'm just going to have you invest into something just because I make a bunch of money.
Right.
Now, I would arguably say that you are probably the luckiest person that I've ever met in my life. Like you buy the house for like $50,000 and then it turned into like a $500,000 sale.
Well,
and
we've been blessed with our primary residence over the years.
And then the stock with Primerica and that splitting. And
our Primerica stock opened up 13 years ago at $15 a share and it hit $218 a share this year. So,
but I believe that is all energy that you put out there, positive energy. It does come back. It is something that is very real and that follows you. When you have positive thoughts, when you have positive action, you're going to have positive reaction that's going to come back to you.
One thing I want to share on real quick is And this happened, I think both you and I have had defining moments in our careers, like make it or break it. To like, for me, back actually in April of 2020, I was floating around making $200,000-$300,000 a year, most of it being residually and overrides, and for most people that'd be like a pretty good deal. But you winners win, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, it just proves a point that you can make some good income, but you can still be miserable inside.
It's
right?
not about the money.
Exactly.
We all both know
Winners
that. It's
win.
about the fight.
And I'll never forget on April 25th, I made a conscious decision. I was just broken as an individual. I called my mentor, Shane, over in Kansas City, and he was ramping back up to kind of get a new program going through Zoom and doing appointments and all this stuff. And Shane was like, "You ready to go to work? You ready to buy in again? Because I'd love to have you kind of really engaged, as I've always been kind of a leader in his team." And I said, "Let me think on that for about a week." And then on Saturday, I don't know what it was. I'd been praying over it, and the good Lord I just had this emotional where tears were coming down my eye, out of my eyes. And I remember going upstairs, and my whole family happened to be in the kitchen at the time. And of course, my kids were like, I was just trying to look for Trisha, and all my kids were looking at me like, "You okay, Dad? Like, did you have a heart attack?" And I said, I just was like, "Guys, I am so tired of being where I'm at. I'm just so ticked off about where I'm at. I feel like I'm not delivering as a dad, even though, we just moved into our dream home, the whole bit, right?" And here's the whole point of that story. So I made a conscious decision. And when you look at the word decide, the IDE is to put to death, right? So anything, insecticide, right?
Yeah.
But when you decide and make a decision, I promise you one thing, and somebody needs to hear this. I promise you one thing: the enemy is going to come knocking fast, okay? Because the enemy doesn't play, the devil doesn't play around people that aren't, doing anything.
Right.
He wants to go after people that are fixing to go do something special or something big with their life, right?
Right.
And the very next day, Steve, my son and I, we had compounded a big old fire pit.
Oh, the gas.
A fire pit, because we got some woods and we were cleaning up the yard and the backwoods and four-wheeler trails and such. And we had a massive, fire pit there with wood piled about 10 foot high and 10 foot in circumference. And I accidentally that morning on Sunday morning, the day after I made a decision, went and grabbed the gas can versus the diesel can, right? And
I remember
doused out all that, and I went down to light that thing up, and it went off like a freaking bomb. And matter of fact, I literally had to drop and roll because my whole right side of my arm and my face just caught, and it felt really hot. I dropped and rolled, and my son comes down off the hill. He was shooting some hoop, and he's like, "Dad, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then I literally looked down at my arm, and I was like, "Holy moly, this is not good." And ended up, I remember being in the burn unit at St. John's and calling my mentor, Shane, because I had made a decision the day before and told him I'm all in, right? And we literally laughed about what happened. It was a serious deal. Trust me. I thought maybe my whole face, my arm would be kind of,
literally
weird.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And I was on fire.
On fire. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But I promise you this: anybody that's out there to trying to make a decision and you're going to go do something bigger with your life, if the enemy is not knocking at your door, then your goals and your dreams might not be big enough, because he will come to play whenever you make a decision.
Absolutely. That's another one. Mark that one. Check it. Yep. So, man, I'll tell you, there's been so many different times, I can remember, like, I was going through a career change, right? I was like, I had just sold off my health insurance business, right?
Yeah.
And I decided that it would be a wise idea to play banker and to self-finance this guy. Well, ultimately, the health insurance business took a dive at that time. And, well, the guy ended up claiming bankruptcy. He just quit paying. And with that went all of my business as well, too, and my residual check that was supposed to be coming to pay for it. It was all gone overnight. So, I can remember trying to be able to go back and start fresh and everything else. And I was in that position where I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was trying to kind of build back up with the things that I knew and everything. And I can remember, like, getting 2 cars repoed that day. And the same freaking day, the IRS reached their hands into my account, took every dollar that I had because I was behind on taxes.
Right.
So, I think a lot of people at that time would have probably given up.
Sure.
I know it wasn't a great day for me, but I still had a car,
Yeah.
and it was, it was what it was with that. And I found a way to, make my comeback
Yeah.
and be able to do what I did. And, that's where I got into this business, from things that I was dealing with because of hard times. And I got into the high risk auto insurance because, I was the client,
Right.
and I was
Yeah.
mistreated. And, people look down on me because maybe I made my mistakes in life. And, I went through different things. And a lot of people, they see like the 10, but they
Yeah.
don't see the steps
All the
1
stuff.
through 9
Yeah, exactly.
to get to 10.
Right.
I mean, I still to this day, like I saw Coinstar up at the front of the grocery store, and I can remember going in like cashing in coins and things
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
try to be able to just like pay bills,
Yeah.
right? Like find loose change around something. And this thing, I swear I have PTSD from this stupid machine because it's the loudest machine that you could
Yeah.
possibly imagine.
That's
So I would roll in to the supermarket. I would roll in there. I look like the Unabomber in there. I have my hoodie up, my sunglasses on. I'm over there like feeding the machine, and it's just the loudest thing freaking ever, right? So the
Right.
machine, it sounds like somebody is literally like exploding glass
Yeah.
all over the room, like throwing it everywhere. And they're just like, look at that poor son of a gun over there that's
Yeah.
putting pennies into this thing. They don't realize like those pennies are literally what ended up cashing me in. And I believed so much in what I was
Yeah.
doing and where I was going that it was a small time of embarrassment and,
Sure.
like a real trying time in my life.
Right.
But, like I said, even though I hate that machine, it was unplugged. It was like that
Right.
machine that, what is it, the movie Big?
Yeah.
Where like he goes up and he freaking wishes that he's bigger or whatever,
Yeah.
and then tries to go back.
Right.
It was,
Yeah.
it made a huge impact because, it is a very humbling sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
You're rolling in, you're on your last legs, and
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember multiple different stories of like when I was a debit agent, right? So the big mistake that I made in doing that. But
Yeah.
you get creative
Sure.
in
You
these
gotta do what you
times,
gotta
right?
do. Yeah.
So I remember I was totally out of gas, right? I was in Cadet, Missouri. Okay, where's that? Yeah, it just went, right? So
Right.
Cadet, Missouri, I was in Cadet, Missouri. I didn't have enough money to be able to get home. And I went up to the gas tank or, went up, filled up my car worth of gas. And I knew that I didn't have the money to pay for it.
Right.
And I filled it up. And I was like, how fast can I get out of here? I'm like
Right.
thinking maybe I put something over my plate, whatever, because I just didn't have the money and I knew I wanted to get home.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I walked in there and I said to the lady at the cash register, I said, I just filled up my tank. I don't have the money to be able to pay for it. I don't
Right.
feel good about it. And she gave me $100
Wow.
to fill my tank up at the time.
Right.
This is a lady that was working at a
Getting
gas
it-
station.
Yeah, making $10 an hour.
Right. Not making great money and everything. And she probably gave me her last $100 or whatever it was. So years later, I ended up paying for a fancy cruise for her and her family to go on. I went back down there and I
Awesome.
said, you don't even understand. Like that was the
Yeah.
thing that got me home. And that was what got me over the hump that was
Yeah.
there. And I was ready to steal and to cheat, the
Yeah.
gas station, to try to be able
Yeah.
to just make it.
That's
And,
a great story, man. What impresses me about you, Steve, is you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
Meaning, and I as well. I mean, people don't, like you said, they see step 10, they don't see the 1 through 9.
Yeah.
And being vulnerable to people, or even on this podcast today,
Yeah.
I've learned that, successes impress people, but failures impact people.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we can share that, hey, it's never been always a bed of roses that we just went straight to the top, and that's always impressive because I've seen some other stories you've had out on your podcast about, the crap that you've gone through.
Yeah.
I give endless stories too. And, it's just awesome to see that and what you've been able to do that. And one other thing too, like what I was thinking about too, is about, we were talking about people in our team a while ago. is I think there's three things that you got to invest in. One is your people, obviously, doing special things for them, just like you did for that gal there. That's phenomenal, but invest in your people. Also, you got to invest in yourself. That's probably the most important investment you can do. For my first few years in Primerica, when I was a rookie, I kind of gave a lot of lip service about the idea of self-improvement. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand there's a lot more than the sales aspect of a business to learn, but self-improving, right? And then the other thing that I'm an advocate for is you got to invest for your future. I see so many business owners or entrepreneurs or self-employed folks that put all their stock in their business, but they don't invest in their future, meaning that they're setting up, specific investment accounts that could be tied to their business that are tax deductible for their future, right? And so those are three aspects I think we've done well as Trish and I building our business: invest in the people, invest in yourself, and invest, for your future. And I think everybody needs to do that.
Well, the tax game is where it's at. Any millionaire, billionaire, anybody that's making any kind of big impact in business,
Exactly.
the tax game is where it's at. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people really miss that, if you do, your IRA and like if they're missing the ball on that
Right.
stuff, is that, your company can be able to write that off. And then this is money that is tax deferred. Right. And then, you have where you're able to max that out, and
Right.
you find different ways to ultimately create investments for yourself, and you're still paying like what you would have normally have paid.
Yeah.
And those are some things that I know that you taught me. Was you told me how to be able to invest into myself with you're able to teach me how to be able to hit multiple different areas in the tax game. You were able to help with deductions and being able to write things off, but at the same point in time, create investments and long-term longevity for myself
absolutely.
later on down the road.
As a side note, for some of your business owners, whether they're self-employed or have a small business, 15, 20 employees, some new tax law changes came out this year that starting January 1 of next year, for the first 2 to 3 years for business owners, if they implement a 401k plan, they get tax credits back. So if they match a certain contribution to each employee, imagine being an employer to give contributions to your employees as a benefit, but then get it back in tax credits. See, our own government and Congress is figuring out that most people in this country haven't saved enough money.
Yeah.
And so they're placing some of that onto the small business owners to start accounts for clients, and there's giving them all these types of tax credits. So that's something that myself and my team are really good at, is teaching people about how to take advantage of the new tax law system that's actually starting January 1st of 2024.
Yeah. I mean, how many people live day to day, or what's your pain threshold at that point? Like, is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? How long can you go without a paycheck?
Right.
It's a very real answer for a lot of people. It's not very long. And, that is one thing that you definitely have taught me. And I know that you shared with a lot of other people, is how to be able to create that longevity, that wealth, to be able to make sure that if you do go down, that you're going to have something to supplement you to bring you back up.
Absolutely. Very important. I mean, those are the steps of having an emergency account, and then having an intermediate account for like short-term goals, and then your retirement savings. One thing I did want to mention too, we rolled out some new technology a couple years ago. It's called $B Smart, and it's revolutionized the way that I conduct and my teammates conduct business. Imagine me sending a little text message to you, a link onto your phone. You take 3 to 5 minutes to fill out a quick financial survey, Steve.
Yeah.
And you fill out this survey with you and your spouse. Basically, it's kind of all your financial data, right? Now, there's no personal information like your social or date of birth or even your name into the survey, right? You hit submit for my results, and a bunch of financial alerts or talking points pop up, maybe a half a dozen to a dozen of them. And then as a financial $B Smart consultant, which I teach people how to do in my business, those representatives go through each of those alerts and find out the 2 or 3, identifying the ones that are most important to that client. And then what we do is go to work for them and put those solutions together within 48 to 72 hours to come back and present. So it's been absolutely amazing, this technology that we're using there. And more people are starting to get aware of $B Smart. But again, if anybody would be interested in a $B Smart consultation, myself personally and and or my team can definitely help people with that.
Well, how do they reach you? How does anybody reach you if they want to reach out to you for an opportunity or if they want to become a client of yours? How do they reach you?
Sure, you bet. Well, the best way to get a hold of me personally, I'll give everybody my direct line instead of my office, is 314 area code 249-6879. 314-249-6879. Also going to be reached out on my Insta. It's at TDBASLER. So T as in Todd, D as in Daniel, B as in boy, A as in apple, S as in Sam, LER is my Instagram account. But really just a phone call or a text is the best way to reach me. And I can even just send people information. The other thing I wanted to mention, if anybody does reach out to me, we also have a huge campaign with our company. We actually trademarked this concept. It's called How Money Works.
Yeah.
I've got a 30-page PDF booklet that literally has changed millions and millions of people's lives in this country because of Primerica. And if you just listen and read that book, that PDF I could send you, I'll send that complimentary out to you. And if it piques your interest that you want to learn more, be happy to visit with you personally one-on-one on a Zoom call.
So, and you're also not just able to serve in Missouri, you're able to help no matter where a person is at.
Yes.
Because, the power of Zoom and, the communications that we have these days. So you're able to help them so they can reach out to you no matter what.
Yep.
You don't just have to be in St. Louis. You can do that consultation with you over the phone, Zoom, whatever.
Yes.
And then you can send them all the different stuff.
Yep.
And then, like I said, and that's how they can
Right.
follow up with you and, become a client, or like I said, if they're looking for an opportunity to make an impact, change their life.
Yes.
I know that that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, we can, all 50 states, it's no problem at all. Like I said, Zoom is the real deal today in our business. And I'm building a part of my agency down in Texas right now that's exploding down there right now. I've got people in Oregon. I got people all up on the Northeast. So we've got people that we can train, and we have a training system that's all online, work from home. Another thing that's unique about Primerica is we have daily deposit. I mean, you get paid daily. Like, somebody can go out and do a securities transaction today, or maybe write a term life policy and literally get paid tonight on that. How about that? Versus everybody having to wait every, 2 weeks. So, we have people that instantly can make money. And, it's not a get rich quick. It's a get rich slow process. But the reality is somebody can make some serious part-time income. And there's more and more people out there that need that, and I believe there's people out there looking for an opportunity. And I'm not saying Primerica is it for everybody, but you never know unless you try, right? And we get a lot of people involved just to be able to learn.
Well, even like I said, I started with the Primerica thing, and I love and I still utilize a lot of the things that I've learned from that process.
Yeah.
I didn't go down the life and health aspect too terribly long, and then I eventually moved over into the PNC side, and I found my way there. But ultimately, we've never lost touch. We've been friends forever.
Yeah.
And, the thing is that every different strokes for different folks, man.
Right.
And I will tell you, like I said, I've seen the system in play. I've seen like how polished it is and refined. I actually created my system for my onboarding process and my agent trainings and things based around what you guys had put out.
Yeah.
We kind of took a page from your book over here. And, one of the biggest things that I also preach to these guys is like, you need to get paid fast. You need to get paid quickly. You need to get paid well. And we created that system to where we can be able to help that person access all the resources that they need, take care of all the heavy lifting. They get paid quickly.
That's awesome.
We help them, mentor them, counsel them. We do weekly interactions and meeting and coaching calls and things to be able to bring everybody together, kind of, have a meeting of the minds and be able to figure out what's working, what's not, how can we improve it? Or if they just have questions and they need help with something, we're here to be able to help them out.
Sounds very familiar.
Yes, exactly. So
absolutely, man.
But man, I've enjoyed having you on here today. I really appreciate your friendship over these years. I'm looking forward to doing many more deals and investments with you. And I thank you for being, true and genuine and really, going above and beyond, being a big mentor for me.
And likewise, Steve, thanks for having me out today, share a little bit of our story. It's always good to catch up. And, most success to you, my friend. You're definitely deserving, and Select Insurance Group has been the bomb, right?
Thanks, man.
And you've done very, very well. And like I said earlier, you've always impressed me as somebody I knew was going to do something special with their life and impact a lot of other people. I've seen what it's done for your family, which has been absolutely a blessing for you.
Yeah.
But again, it shows that hard work does pay off, right? And I think we're just getting started.
I mean, I think there's a lot more work to do.
I get more excited about my future than my last 30 years in this industry, because there's no mountain, there's no top of the mountain for us, right? And that's what winners do. We just figure it out and just
bigger mountains.
Look for bigger mountains, right? And I think hanging around the right people and putting the time and energy in is the key factor to success long term.
Cool, man.